Oh, you hear that silence? I like that. We're rolling. Hi everyone, this is Adam Abraham, and what you see right here is a PW100 Vortex generator, which is going to be the subject, because what we're going to do is we're going to be installing this. And what's significant about this, really significant, is that I'm going to be installing it, and it's something I've never done before. So let me come around here for a second, and I flip this around so I can see if I'm in frame. Oh yeah, I guess I'm here. Hi. So I've been around the Vortex generators for well over a decade. I have seen so many things that vortexing the water has done for our customers. And in fact, and I've had some in some of the places where I've lived, but I've not lived in, well, I lived in a home just a little while ago, and for the first time I actually had a Vortex unit installed on the whole house. But when the local river came in for a visit in January of this year, we ended up moving. And I left the Vortex unit on the house because the port that we rented it from, their guys actually went into the crawl space and installed it for us. And so I didn't have the experience of actually installing it either. So in this particular situation though, the house we moved into, or from there, I do have that latitude again. And in spite of having attempting to get a number of people to install it for us, fate, experience, whatever you want to say, has decided, nope, you're going to get to do this yourself. What you're about to see is a saga. But one of the reasons for the saga is twofold. One of the reasons is twofold. The reasons for this saga are twofold. One of them, again, is that I've just not had many opportunities or reasons to put a Vortex unit on a home in particular, specifically. And the other thing is most of our customers call a plumber. They have someone else who's more knowledgeable do it for them. I totally get it, and that was my, I'd say, my initial instinct, my initial inclination. Call someone else and just get it installed. Well, I did that. This time, okay, here it is. Let me get that done. And the first plumber that I call, in fact, or someone that could do it, basically wasn't interested in the project. I called, I explained, and I live in a small town. There aren't a lot of solutions. So I called, I left a message, I explained to, in fact, the guy's wife, and I left a voicemail. I've got this project, I want to put this thing on, etc. And this is what it does, this is the scope of work, and I love a callback. Well, it turns out I did get a callback, but it was like, oh, we're not interested. The man's wife said he's never heard of this before, he's not interested. That was it. In spite of the fact that what these things do can be, will be of such benefit to virtually everyone, and the fact that he hadn't heard of it before was his reason for not being interested. I actually talked to him again, as it turned out, not knowing it was the same guy, but he eventually recognized my, let's say, my story and my explanations, and he reiterated his position, but this time it had to do with the potential liabilities if something went wrong. Now, you're going to see what's involved. This is not a difficult task to do, but it wasn't enough to look at the project to analyze and see how simple it actually was or is. But that was it. The next plumber, there was another plumbing company in this area that I contacted, and this guy came out, I'm happy to say, came out, took a look, we went down, saw the site, everything else, and he'd never heard of the Vortex generators before, and he had seen, well, again, he saw what it is, I explained what they do, how they work, and the significance of what they represent to someone who's buying or is installing one of these things. Therefore, he was willing to do the work. However, the charge was $800. And I said, what? And I told him, I said, and that was just the basic. We charge by the job. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. This is the cost. This is the price. Now, he didn't have some of the pieces that were needed, at which point he would need to go into town that's about 50 miles plus away, 50 to 60 miles away, to get some parts. And if I wanted to get it done today, he'd take that drive in, get those parts, and come back and do the work. Except the price then would be $2,000. And I told him, I said, what? I mean, he explained to me that this is just by the job. This doesn't have anything to do with the difficulties or anything else. This is by the job. This is what we charge. Hallelujah. You can do that. Oh, here I thought I was rolling again, and I didn't. That little light was not on. So to get back to it, my phone rang, and I needed to just finish it up. $2,000 if I wanted to get the unit installed on that day was out of the question, because $800 was already out of the question. The basic deal was this: I told him I could not in all good conscience even recommend his company, even if money was no issue with me, and because the work did not warrant that cost. And I'm going to say that even in general, every house is different. This guy came and he saw this one. It's very, very straightforward. Sometimes there are complications, and customers will deal with that. They know it. They understand it. He saw it. He was here. That wasn't the case. But $800 or $2,000 for what basically amounted to maybe a half hour's work? I don't think so. But that's what we were dealing with. So with all those things happening and all those influences, what you're about to see happened. And you'll see what the results were. You'll see what the work is. At any rate, that's it. The unit that we're going to be installing, this PW100, has been rehomed. It's from a customer who wasn't sure that things were working properly right. So I feel a need to clarify or do some clarification. A customer's questions or questioning had to do with a couple of things. One is the absolute differentness, how different vortexing as an approach is in terms of water treatment and its efficacy compared to what virtually everyone else is doing. And the other thing is how to show it. He felt a difference internally. He felt a difference in his weight changed. He felt difference in his general energies, things like that. Those are things that he knew for himself was going on. But on the other hand, one thing that we have come to see virtually all the time with just about every customer we've had with regard to some matters such as scale buildup, the calcium buildup and things like that. Calcium buildup tends to not only stop, but it goes away. It reverses itself. He didn't see that happening. And so in spite of what he was feeling inside, he wasn't seeing that. And in addition, there's the thing that how do you show this to other people that is working? We tend to want to show others and give people a way visually to see evidence of it's working, even though we know within ourselves. So that was a question mark at the time, which have been resolved in other ways, as it turns out. However, and I think I'll address that too, probably at another time, but we'll talk about this. The other thing is that we are using vortex generators, and the movement, the physics, the energetics that are associated with a vortex event are in another. It's not like we are doing this. We have created conditions whereby that phenomena is being done. A vortex phenomena is a phenomena of nature. It is a phenomena of creation. And it's a phenomena of organization. It's also a phenomena of destruction, of dissolution. We have entanglement, we have disentanglement. A vortex is involved in both. And so it's not the question of whether the unit was working or not. If when you receive that vortex unit and it's not rattling, meaning its innards, its inner elements are intact, and that's with the exception of the handheld one. The little traveler unit, it can rattle some and it doesn't affect it. So take a listen to this. What that means is that there is a, well, we might call this a rattle. And for a regular inline vortex unit, that's something we just don't have. You move a regular inline unit that has these spheres inside, and there's going to be nice, silent. You won't hear a thing. That's critical because of the pressures that are involved with them. But this in the Traveler personal vortex generator is just not as critical, first of all. And I just wanted to know it has no effect. In fact, oops, I'll turn this on. You can see, as you can see, a very large flow of water can go through here, and it just is not impacted whatsoever. All right, and that's the whole point of this. It's vortexing the water, and generally, when you're pouring, you're not going to even. It won't even be like this. So if it rattles, let me turn this off first of all. So if you hear a rattle on your Traveler, no big deal. And you won't hear a rattler on a inline unit because it doesn't leave us if it does. It doesn't get made if it does, for that matter. Just so you know. The units that we have that go on your home or go on an irrigation system that has thousands of gallons of water running through it every minute, for example, you don't hear any noises coming out of our units. And if you don't hear any noises, then it's doing what it is designed to do. That's create vortexes. And then the vortexes do what vortexes do without equivocation, without fail. That is the point that I wanted to make. And so the bottom line is, the unit that he received was fine. And as you'll hear as I resume this, we did replace it just to give him an idea of what the change might be or if there was some defect. But there was no defect. That's the point. And the vortexing and the vortex phenomena in and of itself was doing what it does, and that is improve the quality of the water itself, improve the function of his water. We replaced it. We sent him another one. But when I got it, the unit is perfectly fine. And it's really interesting in terms of the timing. Before I did this, maybe if the universe is saying something to me about all this, is he called me up. And he always typically calls with questions. But he has a longtime friend who's had some kinds of health issues on an ongoing, steady basis. And after drinking about 3 glasses or so of water from his home, his vortex water, she called him to say that she slept like a baby that night, which she had not done in quite some time. And so, so he had more questions, but these are all good signs, So I told him I was about to install that PW100 into our house here. So it's all good. So anyway, the steps are going to be done. Here you go. First of all, we will shut off the water. Then we'll run faucets throughout the house to relieve pressure, bleed the system. Then we'll measure the space that needs to be cut against the size of the unit, etc. Next, we'll cut the line, then install the PW100 into that space, at which point we'll add a copper ground clamp and wire, turn the water back on, and then run the faucets again just to make certain that everything is working and there are no leaks. No two installations are alike, but there are certain procedures that are consistent to every installation. First thing you got to do is shut off the water. Okay. The next things that you do after you shut off the water is you go and bleed the system. You open up your spigots, your faucets, and you let your water drain out. So you reduce the amount of water that's in the system itself, and you take away all the pressure. And from there, then we go to the point of cutting the pipe and making the measurements, cutting the pipe, then putting the unit in. Now, the additional thing for me is that because the pipe is up here, and I will be, I'll use this little camera and I will do that. And let's see here what happens here. I'm presuming it's going to come on. Yeah, there we go. So, because the pipe is up there, and you'll be seeing this, this is where the PW100 is going to go. And in addition to that, you're going to see I have already installed some brackets that are going to support the weight of the PW100. In addition to that, I'm going to be using shark bite fittings. This is a copper system, and because it's copper, and copper being conductive, I'm putting shark bite units on, which means I don't have to do any soldering, anything like that. However, I am also going to be putting some copper line or copper wire to essentially restore the continuity of ground on the copper, because I'm cutting into the pipe and also putting some material into the line that is not conductive. We want to restore that. So that's the other thing that I will do. The only thing left to do is to do it. So the journey begins. So the first thing we have to do is go over to the water, and which is right there. It says here all water. I think is what it says. It does say that. So I need to go over here and turn that off. So reaching down. It's off now. So next thing I do is go and bleed some of the lines. So I'm going to run some water and make certain that nothing's coming through. I should have been rolling at the time that I turned the water off, but it ran for a little bit at this faucet, and now you see there's no pressure, nothing pushing it through. Boy, you turn it off, it's off. You'd think there's no water on. It's because it's not. Okay. Okay, so now as far as this PW100 is concerned, we've got the length of about 18 inches for the unit, but we have to go actually out to the extensions, and those are all the adapters and stuff that are on here. So it's about 22¼ inches, and then you take away about 1 inch on either side. So 20¼ inches is the length that we're going to be cutting out of the pipe. Now the 1 inch that you're taking out is the depth of the insertion of the pipe into the shark bite fittings, the push-to-fit fittings. So 20 and a quarter is what we're going to shoot, what we're going to cut. So, well, what we'll do to begin is simply mark the distance. I'm going to have to do some contortion to get up into this space. At least I think I am. We'll see. I said 20 and a quarter inches. So I'm going to I'm already discovering something. I think I'm going to have to put these closer together. Now that I'm looking at it, they have to be closer together. So we're going to stop and do a little adjustment of that. Now you can see where I have moved the left bracket closer. They're now 8 inches on center apart from each other. So plenty of room to support, far enough away but close enough to support the PW100. Now we start to cut the pipe itself. So I've measured my distance. I'm going to sew it again though. We'll see how this looks. The spot on my first cut, I'm going to make right here at 20 and a quarter inches, and from that, yeah, I guess whether it can be seen or not, I have my second cut will be made right here. Okay, yeah, it's got to go here, and we got right there. So this is where the next action happens. What I'll do, I've got my bucket already set below, and I have to move this overhead light out of the way so that I could actually get my head underneath here and move around. So what we do is this: open this up enough and then tighten it. There's a blade on the other end. Oops. And then start turning and just screw. Let's see. Oh, let me be Cecil B. DeMille here. There, here we go. Every time it goes around, it gets a little tighter, and it doesn't take really that long. I did this once, and tighten it some more. It's not creating yep, it's one line, so cut is happening. I'm making it tighter and tighter. Oops. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. Ah. What I didn't count on was having two flows, but it's all right. And you see not much happens down there. So we are officially on this journey. Cut this and then move over and get the other side. Okay, so now, having made the cut there, I'm measuring, I have measured the exact distance from the actual cut and put a second line there. So I'll make my next cut right there. Before I put up the PW100, there's one important thing you got to do, especially with shark bites. You have to make a mark to accommodate the depth of the pipe going into the shark bite. So this guide tells you how far that's got to be. This is to ensure that there's no leaking here. So I'll put that right there. Let's check it out. You see that line there? That's how far it's got to go in. All right, and that was that depth. I have accounted for it, but now there it is, so you can see it. Okay, so once we have the PW100 up and installed, or at least being supported by the brackets on this end, we will be pushing it into that space right there. That's where the 1 inch depth has to, that's where it works, that's where it has to happen. For this installation, I purchased these U-joints, and so I'm going to be putting the U-joints up and then supporting them on the top, and then they'll support the weight on both sides there, and then we can put the PW100 through them. That's the goal, that's the plan. Well, you can see part of the way here. The pipe is actually down lower, but once I get the second bracket up, then I'll center the PW100, and then we'll take the steps to mate the pipe with the shark bite. Well, I used this piece of wood here, leveraged it on my knee to get the pipe up to the height of the PW100. And you see I'm still got a half of an inch or so to go, but I'm going to now push Can we see that? Yeah. There it is. Okay, that's in there. That's there. Now, I'm gonna have to come over here and get those together, but you can see I have to cut this back because I have to have room for both the shutoff valve, this, and the pipe that goes between them. So we're going to put some pipe between here and the shutoff valve, and then the shutoff valve. That's what we got to do now. Well, we're going to plan minus A, or plan 1, alternate plan 1. And that is, I've cut off just a smaller piece of this pipe, and before I go cutting and putting valves in and things like that, yeah, there it is, I'm going to see if I can get those two in the way they are. That will be no cuts, no additional cuts. Let's see if we can. Well, there we go. I have ended up moving this bracket in further and then, but I ended up taking them both off, and that gave me the ability to get these things in and get it into the depth that it needs to be. So it is as deep as it's supposed to be on both sides. And I'm going to attach the grounding wires, at which point in time it'll be time to turn the water back on. Well, I'm about to add the grounding wire, the copper, and I'm going to use these grounding clamps. I have 2 of them, and the one's going to go on either side of the PW100. Now, this is simply to be doubly safe. I'm not sure that it's absolutely necessary, because what's absolutely necessary is that there be continuity of conductivity. And by cutting the line and putting in the shark bites, and there's a break in the continuity if the materials inside that are in contact with the copper are themselves not conductive. That's a fact. The Vortex, the PW100 is conductive. The body is made of steel, but nonetheless, again, these are questions, and these are questions that really need not be questioned. So the way to not have it be an issue at all is to put on grounding clamps. So that's just what we're going to do. Whole purpose of doing this is for there to be good contact and continuity. So wherever you put the ground clamp, you need to make certain that you prepare the surface and clear away any sediment that may be there. While this is minor in terms of what you're looking at, it still would affect overall contact, the quality of contact. So there it is. Don't take but a couple minutes. That's when, unless when you're not talking. Well, there you see it. It's all there. There's the grounding clamps, the shark bite, the ends of the PW100. There's the copper connecting to the grounding clamp on the other side. Only thing left to do is to turn the water back on. And I got some covers there just in case. So here goes. Here we go. Water's on. Not one drop anywhere. You don't know until you know, but when you know, you can't unknow it. Super duper. Whether you have a Vortex generator or are thinking of purchasing one and installing on your home or having a plumber do it, I hope you see, first of all, I hope these steps that I've detailed here show you, one, what they are, what's to be done, but also why they are so important. Vortexing is a different way of treating your water, which treats everything in the same way that nature treats everything. When it rains on everything. When a tornado comes, it deals with everything that's there. It doesn't pick things out that are good or bad or indifferent. However, vortexing has shown itself to dramatically and substantially improve the quality of virtually stagnant water, which is the water in virtually every pipe, whether it's municipal or well water. It's basically stagnant at the time of use. Putting a Vortex generator on changes your water. It becomes different again. It becomes energetic again. The way, when you start seeing the growth, and especially in crops, especially in plants, they show it right off, the difference simply between what we call flaccid water and living water. Who knew that simply by putting some spin dynamics back into water, you make it much more compatible with life again and much more helpful to it. So the only other thing that I did not include was, and I would include here, is to flush your hot water heater typically within about 2 weeks after you install it. You can do it right then when you install it, but your Vortex water is going to actually and most likely dislodge sediment that is accumulated even in the hot water heater, at which point in time a lot of our customers actually report that sometimes a couple of weeks or longer, but in some period of time after they've installed that Vortex unit, all of a sudden a whole bunch of stuff comes out of their pipes. That whole bunch of stuff is stuff you didn't really knew was having some influence on your well-being, let us put it that way. But who knew just changing the state of the water could make that happen? So with that in mind, I would add that particular point. And outside of that, if you have any other questions, particularly about President Water Vortex generators, contact us at presidentwater.co. There we have a toll-free number. Be happy to help you in any way we can. Thank you so much for watching. Your health means so much. The health of all life means so much. And the health of water affects all life. Who knew? It was just about spin. Till next time, thank you.